The Tallman Ghost. The Tallman House Ghost is one of the best-known series of unsolved mystery. It is also considered the most frightening. It's about a family that lived in the small farming community of Horicon, Wisconsin. The Tallmans, Debbie and Alan, moved into a one-story home with their children in 1986. They were excited about owning their own home. But strange things began to happen to the family once they bought a bunk bed at a second-hand store. The couple came to believe what happened next was somehow connected to this wooden bunk bed. They experienced 9 months of fear and terror. Their children had never been sick, even with colds, but mysteriously, as soon as this bed was brought into the home, their children, 2 daughters and a son, became seriously ill for no apparent reason. A clock radio near their son Danny started to have a mind of its own. It would turn off and on and switch channels without assistance. At first, when Danny told his parents about this, they didn't believe him. But then strange things began to happen to Alan. Painting the basement one day, he left his work to eat dinner. When he returned, he found his paintbrush had been sticking upside down. The bristles were now up out of the paint gallon. Their youngest daughter, while sleeping in the lower bunk, was startled awake several times by a dark figure staring at her that was surrounded by a red glow. Several weeks later, her brother Danny saw the same figure. The family had their pastor, Wayne Dobratz, visit the home, and he told the couple he sensed something evil was haunting them. After this, the whole family began to hear doors slam shut violently. They also heard strange voices. Their children's visions continued, and Danny became so frightened he told his parents he wanted to move. Alan, now frustrated and angry, told the entity to leave his children alone, that he was willing to fight it if necessary. After this, the dark entity focused upon him. Returning home late one night from work, he heard an odd howling sound that evolved into a voice calling, "Come here." He followed this voice around the house, but nothing was there. When he returned to the garage, it was on fire, so he ran into the house to retrieve a fire extinguisher. But when he returned, everything was calm. There was no damage or sign that anything had burned. When Alan re-entered the house, he went to retrieve his metal lunch pail, which he had set down earlier, but the entity yanked it from his hands and threw it across the room. Alan began to sleep in his daughter's room to provide protection and comfort. One night a fog rose from the floor and surrounded him. He then heard a voice say, "You're dead." Debbie called the family pastor once more. She explained Alan was distraught. The Bratts felt that the Tallman house had a demonic presence. Their pastor didn't find any evidence they were fabricating the incidents. Several weeks later, Alan, working late, asked a male relative to stay with his family. This man, a skeptic, did not believe what the Tallmans had told him about the haunting. That night he changed his mind. That same dark figure, glowing red, appeared in the children's room and screamed. Debbie told this relative, who was now in shock, to gather up the children. They were leaving. The Tallmans shortly after this had the bunk bed destroyed. This worked, but despite the activity settling down, they moved to a different town.